Shalom, brothers and sisters. My name is Dominic, and today we are going to read from the book of Psalms. The book of Psalms is very important because our forefathers used to teach us the history of Israel. They used to teach us the ways of the Father and teach us how to live a righteous life through song and dance. The book of Psalms are songs that do just that. Unfortunately, way too often in church, we simply read the Psalms but never meditate on the words that we are reading. We never take time to see what it is that King David is actually saying. What is it that the psalmist is actually saying in the words that are written? And so, as we read different psalms over the coming weeks, we're going to take our time to point out those things that are very important for us to know, those things that are important for us to meditate on. We'll begin today with Psalms 1. We're going to read the entire Psalms and then we're going to go back and try to quickly point out some of the important points that King David is making. Psalm 1. Blessed is the man that walketh not in the counsel of the unholy, nor standeth in the way of sinners, nor sitteth in the seat of the scornful. But his delight is in the law of the Father, and in his law doth he meditate day and night. And he shall be like a tree planted by the rivers of water, that bringeth forth his fruit in his season. His leaf also shall not wither, and whatsoever he doeth shall prosper. The unholy are not so, but are like the chaff which the wind driveth away. Therefore the unholy shall not stand in the judgment, nor sinners in the congregation of the righteous. For the Father knoweth the way of the righteous, but the way of the unholy shall perish. Let's go back to verse 1. Blessed is the man that walketh not in the counsel of the unholy, nor standeth in the way of sinners, nor sitteth in the seat of the scornful. The first thing that David tells us in the book of Psalms is to beware of men who are unholy. Do not take counsel from the unholy men. Of course, these include most of the unholy men that you see and know and read about, such as murderers, people who steal and rob, nations that go to other nations and violate the land and steal the resources of the native populations and put them to death or in slavery. We know about those unholy men and we know the acts that they do. But most of us grew up in Christian churches. We have to bear in mind that there are unholy men inside the Christian church as well. Most of us are taught in church that we do not live under law. We live under grace. We are taught that the Messiah nailed the law to the cross. We are taught that the law are for the olden days, the ancient testament, but we live under a new testament, a new dispensation of grace in which it is okay for us not to be concerned with the law of Moses and the laws that the Father gave all the other prophets, the commandments, the judgments, the statutes, the precepts. We are told those things are not important. Those things are for a time that has been gone a long time ago. But King David is letting us know in the very first book of Psalms that the law is very important. And When you go to First John chapter 3 verse 4, we read, whosoever committeth sin transgresseth also the law, for sin is the transgression of the law. This is the very definition of sin. Sin is the transgression of the law. It is disobedience to the law. What law? The law of Moses. And the rest of the words of the Father, every word that comes out of the Father's mouth is law. His words go out, they never return void. They always accomplish everything that he sends them out to accomplish. His word is law. But when you are in church and they tell you that you are not living under the law, they are telling you that you don't need to know what the laws are. They are telling you then that you can figure it out for yourself. You can do what you feel that is right in your own eyes. But that is not what the Father teaches us. He gave us the laws and He told us we are to meditate on the laws. He told us that we are to teach the laws to our children from generation to generation, forever and ever. Let's continue. In the same First John chapter 3 verse 7 we read, little children, let no man deceive you. He that doeth righteousness is righteous, even as he is righteous. He that committeth sin is of the devil, for the devil sinneth from the beginning. For this purpose the Son of the Father was manifested, that he might destroy the works of the devil. He that committeth sin is of the devil. When the pastor tells you it is not important to know the laws, he is telling you you can do what you feel is right. He is letting you know that there are no consequences for your sin. He that commits sin is of the devil. For this purpose, the Father sent the Son to destroy the works of the devil, to destroy sin, to stop you from sinning, to teach you, change your heart so that you no longer sin, so that you no longer disobey the laws and the word and the will of the Creator. Men that teach you that the law is done away with are doing the works of the devil. This is the counsel of the unholy that King David is talking about. It's not just those men that murder and rape and steal. It's also men that teach you it is okay to disobey the commandments. It is men that teach you that you don't need to know what the Father's will is. Do what's right in your own eyes. But we know the wages of sin is death. So those men that say that we are living under grace and therefore do not need to obey the law, they are doing the work of the devil. They are teaching you not to have any respect for the law. They are teaching you to sin. In First John chapter 2 verse 4 we read, he that saith I know him and keepeth not his commandments is a liar, and the truth is not in him. If your pastor tells you that you don't have to keep or obey the law, he is a liar, and the truth is not in him. He is dwelling in darkness, and he is leading you on a path towards perdition. Psalms 1 verse 1 again. Blessed is the man that walketh not in the counsel of the unholy, nor standeth in the way of sinners, nor sitteth in the seat of the scornful. But his delight is in the law of the Father, and in his law doth he meditate day and night. David, throughout the entire book of Psalms, repeats over and over and over again how important the laws of the Creator are. He never fails to tell us that it is the most important thing in his life and that it should be the most important thing in your life as well. We are not only taught that we live under grace, we are taught that faith alone is all that we need in order for us to get into the kingdom. Never mind that they never teach us what it means to have faith. To have faith means that you believe in the words of the Father. You believe in the record that the Father left. You believe in the record of his Son that he left. This is what faith is. Faith is not simply saying, I believe in Jesus. Faith is believing in all of the words of the Father that came unto Moses, the prophets, and the Messiah. Faith is believing in the laws and the judgments and the precepts and the doctrine of the Father. Faith is believing in his words when he says that the new covenant is that he will write his laws into your heart. Faith is believing all of the words of the Father. Faith is believing that when the Father says that he will establish a new covenant, a new testament in the latter days, he will do just that in the last days, in the days that are to come. If you have faith, then you will understand that the Father never abolished his laws. In fact, he will establish them forever in your hearts and in your mind. That is, those of you who are obedient, those of you who have an earnest desire to do his will. We read in Hebrew 8, verse 10, For this is the covenant that I will make with the house of Israel. After those days, saith the Father, I will put my laws into their mind and write them in their hearts, and I will be to them a mighty one, and they shall be to me a people. I will put my laws into their mind and write them in their hearts. I will put my laws into their mind and write them in their hearts. Faith is believing those words. Faith is believing that the Father establishes his laws. The Father wants you to obey his laws so that you may live. Romans 3, verse 31. This is Paul talking. Do we then make void the law through faith? The Father forbid. Yea, we establish the law. Paul says the Father forbids you to declare the law void. Paul says we establish the law. In Proverbs 7, verse 2, we read, Keep my commandments and live, and my law as the apple of thine eye. Keep my commandments and live. Life is in the word of the Father. If you keep his commandments, you will live. If you disobey his commandments, well, the wages of sin is death. If you disobey his commandments, then you will not live. You will be cut off from the earth. You will perish forever. The Father wants you to live. If you want to live, then keep his commandments. Psalms 1 verse 3. And he shall be like a tree planted by the rivers of water, that bringeth forth his fruit in his season. His leaf also shall not wither, and whatsoever he doeth shall prosper. The righteous are sometimes compared to trees in the Bible, like the palm tree in this verse, Psalms 92, verse 12. The righteous man will flourish like the palm tree, he will grow like a cedar in Lebanon. Palm trees stand upright. They are tall, they are majestic, very fruitful, very beautiful, and they are very resilient. They bend but do not break and are able to survive the strongest winds. David is comparing the righteous to palm trees because palm trees are very strong. Palm trees are able to take the full brunt, the full force of hurricane winds, bend, but then snap right back into an upright position. We read in verse 3 that our Father will plant the righteous like a tree by the rivers of water, that bringeth forth his fruit in his season. And whatsoever he doeth shall prosper. When you are righteous, the Father is with you. And when the Father is with you, everything you touch turns to gold. Everything you touch is prosperous. And he will deliver you regardless of what circumstances you might find yourself in. Psalms 1 verse 4. The unholy are not so, but are like the chaff which the wind driveth away. The chaff is the outer covering or shell that peels off corn seeds or other seeds. It has very little weight and is blown away by the slightest wind. The unholy are being compared to chaff. The unholy will be too weak, too dirty, and too insignificant to stand before the mighty one in the day of judgment. Verse 5. Therefore the unholy shall not stand in the judgment, nor sinners in the congregation of the righteous. The congregation of the righteous are those who will be part of the great gathering of the 12 tribes of Israel who will stand before the Messiah. So many of us will gather that we will be like clouds that cover the land. The sinners shall perish, but the righteous shall stand in the day of that great assembly. Verse 6. For the Father knoweth the way of the righteous, but the way of the unholy shall perish. The unholy shall not stand in the day of judgment, but the righteous shall. The righteous shall stand in the congregation of the righteous. The righteous, those who do the will of the Father by keeping his commandments, they shall inherit the earth. But the unholy, those that have no respect for the law, shall be cut off from the face of the earth forever. And to that we say, Hallelujah. You can contact us on Facebook, Voix Israel, VWAIZRAYEL, through the email ietham.com or telephone 646 425 0923.